Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan. Well, the continued non-stop seeming debunking of what the health goes on. There's so many debunking videos, I just cannot keep up. So this week I'm going to respond to two of these people's videos, people that you have written me about here on YouTube. Anyway, it's Dr. Eric Berg and Keto Connect. Let's see what Dr. Berg has to say.
I just want to talk about one point, and that is this.
Diabetes is not and never was caused by eating a high carbohydrate diet, and it's not caused by eating sugar. The cause of diabetes is a diet that builds up the amount of fat into the blood. I'm talking about a typical meat-based, animal-based diet.
Do notice that Dr. Bernard is strictly talking about the cause of diabetes, not what worsens or exacerbates an already existing diabetic condition, solely the cause of diabetes.
So the point I disagree is that high-carb diets and sugar are not the cause of diabetes.
Great, Dr. Berg. Proceed with your demonstration of how high-carb diets cause diabetes.
Okay, that's what I have a severe disagreement with, because let's take a look at what diabetes is. It's a disease of high sugar in the blood.
Well, fine, as long as you're not saying that's the cause of diabetes. Instead, that's just what happens once you already have a diabetic condition. But proceed.
High sugar. Okay, so here you have this condition, we have too much sugar in the blood. And he's saying high carbs and diet sugars don't cause it, but...
Well, Dr. Berg is making the same mistake that I have seen every debunker make here. It's that they're not making the truthful distinction between the cause of diabetes and what happens once you have diabetes. The cause of diabetes, as Dr. Bernard stated and the science says, as I'll show, is that there's too much fat in the cells from eating too much dietary fat. And what happens once you have diabetes, the other side of this distinction, is you have a problem with having too much blood sugar. So it's wrong to say that fruit and carbs cause you to have too much blood sugar. It's because you had too much fat in your cells to begin with.
If you add more sugar into the blood, what is that going to do? It's going to worsen diabetes.
Well, yeah, if you're already insulin resistant from a diet high in fat that caused you to become insulin resistant, yeah, certain foods, high carb foods, can be problematic for those people. But I'll show in a second, there's other non-high carb foods that are just as problematic. But let's get down to the science that shows what causes diabetes. Not what worsens it if you already have it, but what causes diabetes.
After controlling for weight and alcohol and smoking and exercise and family history, diabetes incidence was significantly associated with the proportion of saturated fat in our blood. So what causes diabetes? The consumption of too many calories rich in saturated fats. Now, just like everyone who smokes doesn't develop lung cancer, everyone that eats a lot of saturated fat doesn't develop diabetes. There's a genetic component. But just like smoking can be said to cause lung cancer, high-calorie diets rich in saturated fats is currently considered the cause of type 2 diabetes.
And before someone tries to slam this study as some kind of weird vegan activist propaganda, its author, Dr. Roy Taylor, published this in a respected diabetic journal. He himself appears to not be a vegan or vegetarian in any way, and in fact, his articles are cited in paleo-diabetic blogs. And as they quote him here in this paleo-diabetic blog, the more fat that accumulates in the liver, the less sensitive it is to insulin.
The purpose of insulin is to lower sugar. So anything that triggers more insulin, and you keep stimulating the hormone over and over, that's going to worsen that condition. It's going to worsen that hormone.
Indeed, if you have diabetes, you should be concerned about the insulin spikes from foods you eat. Well, let's take a look here at this article published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, an insulin index of foods. And it's a well-cited article. You can see this same list over on Wikipedia. Anyway, as most people know, pasta is a high-carb food dish. For sure, runners carb load on pasta nights and weeks before marathons. Well, let's compare the insulin spike of beef and fish compared to, say, pasta, white or brown. Well, beef and fish cause a higher insulin spike than these high-carb pasta foods. And in fact, dairy-based yogurt is off the charts high.
More insulin, and if that's the villain,
right? Then you'd stay away from the meat.
Now let's focus our attention on Keto Connect, another YouTube channel, and they have similar issues with that same clip from Dr. Neil Bernard.
Diabetes is not and never was caused by eating a high carbohydrate diet, and it's not caused by eating sugar. The cause of diabetes is a diet that builds up the amount of fat into the blood. I'm talking about a typical meat-based, animal-based diet. You can look into the muscle.
You heard the clip. Very ambiguous and incorrect.
Ambiguous and incorrect. Well, let's take a look at ambiguous, which means he's not stating things clearly, just kind of being very vague. Let's see if he spoke precisely or vaguely.
The cause of diabetes is a diet that builds up the amount of fat into the blood.
Well, he's using simple, precise, and clear language to describe the cause of diabetes. So he's not being ambiguous or vague. He's being very precise. Well, let's look at the other charge that he's incorrect. For instance, here's a study that shows that subjects who took a lipid-lowering pharmaceutical, Asapomox, had improved insulin resistance compared to the placebo control group. And this is just overnight. They had better insulin resistance. And this is not the only study. Here's several more that show similar kinds of improvements when there's less fat in the blood. So to say he's incorrect about fat-causing diabetes when there's ample research to prove otherwise, you're just not being truthful here. Anyway, let's see what else these guys have to say.
So sugar has never been linked to diabetes, has never and will never cause diabetes. Totally false. I'll link stuff below that proves that wrong.
All right, well, this ought to be really good. So we take a look at a show description for this link here that says only sugar can lead to insulin resistance. Click that link and it takes us to a study, and fortunately it's there in its entirety. So let's see if this study backs up your assertion here that only sugar, the only thing possible in the world that can lead to insulin resistance. Well, unfortunately for you, the authors of your study that you're referring to here don't make any claim of the sort. Let's look at their exact wording. They say sugar intake, particularly fructose, may have an important participatory role in current cardiorenal disease. Notice how they don't say that sugar or fructose cause diabetes. Cardiorenal disease is related but not the same thing, and it says it has a participatory role, which means that there's other factors and variables that work together. It's not only sugar as you claim here. Furthermore, to show how this study doesn't back up what you're saying, the authors say if their hypothesis about sugar and cardiovascular disease is true, they're making some predictions that they would like to test out in future studies to see if they're true, like say the role of sugar involved as being a risk factor for diabetes. But again, nowhere here are they saying that sugar causes diabetes. Nowhere, bro.
My takeaway from it is just like, be a vegan. Like, he's just trying to get across be a vegan.
There's no like general overarching like theme.
Yes, there is. It's that there's a mountain of science showing that animal products are not good for our health, and that there's a conspiracy amongst powerful organizations to keep this information from being spread.
Because everyone's just saying whatever they think sounds the best to promote being a vegan.
Really, that's true.
No, they're just promoting plant-based or vegan diets because that happens to be the diet that gives you the lowest risk factors for all the diseases that they were talking about in this movie. Anyway, let's take a look exactly why Dr. Berg and Keto Connect are wrong about carbohydrates, diabetes, and obesity.
Because carb and sugar worsen diabetes. I mean, that's so obvious. I don't know why some people can't get it.
Well, if high carbohydrate diets truly cause diabetes, we should see some clear evidence of this, right? Like, for instance, you guys know I have, giant fruit smoothies every morning. I'm not even close to being pre-diabetic yet. But let's look bigger than that. Let's look at populations on the size of nations. In Vietnam, they eat more rice there per capita than anywhere in the world. Decimates what happens here in America. So by their logic, we should see high rates of obesity and diabetes there, right? Well, yes, that's true for the United States here, where over 35% of our people, over 1 out of 3 people, are obese. And Vietnam, they should have higher rates, right? Because of all that high carb rice? Well, no. 1% of their population is obese. Go figure. And in this cross-sectional study comparing the health and diets of Seventh-day Adventists here in California, they found that vegans had the lowest risk of type 2 diabetes, a 68% lower risk than did non-vegetarians. Well, a critic can argue that we don't really know exactly what the vegans were eating in this cross-sectional study. For all we know, they were low-carb vegans. I'm not sure how they would do that, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's look at this study in Korea, a clinical trial comparing a conventional diabetic diet with that of a high-rise vegan diet. And they found that both diets did improve their conditions, but glycemic control was better with the high-carb, high-rise vegan diet. So leave your questions and comments down below. What do you think about all these debunkers claiming that there's no science showing what the health is trying to say here about diabetes, that carbs cause diabetes, high-fat diets don't? Well, I show you the science says exactly what the movie's saying. And when you guys try to give me a link like the one that Keto Connected, it doesn't even back up what you guys are trying to claim it says. You're just completely off here. So let me know what all you guys think here about all this all these claims from these debunkers, how there's no science, when in fact it's completely the opposite. It just doesn't agree with what they say, so they just dismiss it. Well, it doesn't make it less true. You're just not looking at it. Anyway, comment down below. What do you think of all these debunkers? Who should I look at next? And every day I see more and more coming out, and I just cannot keep up with them. So let me know who you think I should talk about next. If you got some out of this video, hit like. Let me know that you like seeing these types of expose videos, debunking the debunker videos, and you can comment about that too if you'd like to see some more. So until next time, guys, I'm talking to Dr. Berg and Keto Connect. Keep it carb, baby. Keep it carb. I'd also like to make a slightly late Patreon shout out to our latest supporters there on patreon.com, Trevor and Crystal. Thanks so much for your support. It really means a lot to us. It helps us to make these videos on the reg. Thank you guys.